How are we doing, guys? All Leeds TV, Swansea 2, Leeds 2, and what drama. That was such a dramatic game from first minute to the 90th. I mean, let's not make any mistake here. We were pretty poor tonight. We were second best pretty much throughout. But the character shown to get a 2-2 draw is crucial, and it's a really good point. You know, in the context of, we've had injuries coming into the game. You know, we've not been at our best. It's a tough place to go. So I'm happy with the point, in fairness. You know, we always want to win every game. But the reality is, as I've touched on, as Joe's touched on, we're not going to win every game this season. We're going to lose games. And I think we showed tonight that we're not perfect. We're far from being perfect. We have got something here this season, that bit more character, that bit more quality. You know, when we're struggling, we can produce moments of magic. We can, turn poor performances and still get results. You know, and that's a real sign of a good team. You know, it's something any successful Leeds team's done. You know, you look at the Simon Grayson side, you look at the Gary Monk side. You know, so many performances where we're poor on the nights, but we get the results, and that's what's important. You know, we get the result. You know, it's not great if you're playing badly and getting beat, but if you're playing badly and getting results, that's got to be a positive. You know, and obviously we don't want to play badly every game, but I think it highlights the character more than anything. But you go into the first half. I mean, the first 30 minutes was a real struggle. I don't think we really got out of our own half. Calvin Phillips comes off after 27 minutes. And I don't think that's so much a pop at Calvin Phillips. I think that's more Bielsa trying to make a point to the players, I think. Personally, I think that's more what that shows, really. I think that the complacency can't set in. Because I think there was a tiny bit of complacency. You know, certainly those first 30 minutes, I think we looked a little bit naive. You know, I think we weren't quite expecting Swansea. I think Swansea looks very... they seem to have a lot of power more than anything. You know, I think especially off the ball. You know, they seem to barge us off the ball a little bit too easily at times. They seem to have a little bit more energy. I suppose they did have an extra day's rest. Maybe that comes into play. But I think obviously Calvin Phillips coming off. I think that's more a message to the rest of the squad than Calvin Phillips himself. I mean, obviously Calvin Phillips had a poor performance. Didn't really do his job tonight in front of the back four, and obviously he pays the price and comes off. You know, maybe in another situation, I don't think we make that substitution, but Bielsa does have history of that. His second game in charge of Lille, I think away to Strasbourg, he made 3 changes before half time once, and in that game he actually ended up losing his goalkeeper at half time. Sorry, no, I think second half he ended up losing his goalkeeper. I think he was either sent off or injured and had to play an outfielder in goal because he made all the substitutions. So this isn't unusual for Bielsa to do this. I think it was making a point, complacency, and just not letting people rest and relax. Just keeping everyone on the toes, and I think that's a positive thing. And then you go into when we get a goal. For all Swansea's dominance, they only really created one chance in that first half. The goal comes from a pretty poor piece of defending. I mean, Calvin Phillips loses the ball, but I'm more frustrated about what happens in between that. We lose the ball on their own edge of Swansea's area, and it ends in a goal. It's not promising. I don't think we could have got a tackle in before the breakaway. Ball goes in onto the left hand side. Berardi comes across. Maybe you can get there quicker, but I think the main worry was when Luke Ayling pulled across as well, and it freed the space up on the right hand side. Ball goes over to the right hand side, and Ollie McBurney makes a run either side of Berardi and Ayling, untracked, which is not great either, and the goal goes in. And to be fair, it wasn't a great finish. I think Bailey Peacock-Farrell should do better there. With Ollie McBurney, to be fair, caused us problems all night, but that goal shouldn't happen. There's a catalogue of errors there defensively, goalkeeping wise, losing the ball too easily. But it's one of those. Probably the first real goal we've conceded like that all season. But you can't afford to concede too many goals like that in the season. As much as I said about the character, that is one of the big worries. Goals like that, not good seeing that happen. But we responded. We made the substitution, as I've touched on. Lewis Baker came on. I thought Lewis Baker was probably our best centre mid tonight. I don't think he was great as such, but I thought he did okay in comparison to other centre mids, because pretty much everyone had an off day. Phillips, Click, Side, even Pablo, even though he scored, Alioski, anyone else who came on really in that midfield area, didn't really have it any way at all tonight. We get the goal. Lovely bit of work off Jamie Shackleton, who threatened a little bit earlier than that, about 2-3 minutes before that. He had a little run at Martin Olsen and got the cross in, but this time he makes the run and the cross is just that little bit further away from the goalkeeper. It's in that area where the goalkeeper can't really decide either way. It's a really good cross, dangerous. The defence doesn't know what to do, and Kemal Roof just makes a brilliant late run into the box and meets it, and it's 1-1. And then we get another chance as well for Berardi on the headed chance, and we're looking at half time, and I thought going into half time we looked a little bit stronger than Swansea. I think obviously for the first 30-35 minutes Swansea have took that clearly. They've been absolutely dominated the game, but they only really created one chance, and then you go into the second half, looked a little bit brighter. First 5-10 minutes, then we concede again. It's another soft goal really. Pablo Hernandez on the right hand side has to follow, I think, Martin Olsen a bit better there. He was a little bit slow to react. He does try and recover, but he doesn't quite recover quickly enough. The cross comes in a bit too easily, and unfortunately Ollie McBurney up against Berardi and Ayling is probably always going to win that header, or at least is at least going to be in contention for that. There's only really going to be one winner there, and it's going to be Ollie McBurney. It's a good headed goal, and it's frustrating. And then after that, heads seemed to drop a little bit. Made another substitution. I thought it was a little bit harsh on Kemal Roof to come off, but ultimately Bielsa knows best, and it was a good substitution in the end. Patrick Bamford came on. He did what he had to. I thought his link-up play was good, and then his work for the goal is absolutely brilliant. And it's the first time we really showed our quality for all night. We played the ball out the back, with more precision, vertical. Making the space for each other, creating the angles for the centre-backs to pass to. And I thought Click did that quite well, in fairness. He had an off day, but he showed his quality in that moment. He made that little bit of movement, makes the space, and then he picks out Patrick Bamford, who positions himself really well. He's not in a really central role. He's moved himself out onto the left-hand side. Lovely bit of skill. Cross comes in. I think maybe Swansea should defend that a lot better, and it's a good finish off Pablo Hernandez in the end. It's a one-touch. It could go anywhere, but it's a good finish on his left foot as well, and we get to 2-2. And in fairness, it's a pretty open game then for the last 10 minutes. Bailey picked up Farrell to make 2 good saves. He maybe redeems himself for that error for the first goal. And I think we finished the last 5-10 minutes. We looked quite strong. We didn't really create a real true chance, but we look at Jack Harrison had a little one-on-one later on in the game. Didn't get the shot off, unfortunately. We had a couple of set pieces, and we finished the game quite strongly. We had a real desire to win the game, which was good to see. But yeah, there was obviously some concerns there tonight. I think a big thing, what's been highlighted tonight is the need for a natural out-and-out holding midfielder. I wasn't happy when Ronaldo Vieira went. Bielsa didn't want Vieira to go. It's happened, it's gone, okay. We haven't got a replacement. That's the key thing here. I think on one of the comments on video over the weekend was that Calvin Phillips is the only player we have in that position, and that shows clearly. I have to totally agree with that one, mate. There is no real natural out-and-out holding midfielder. Obviously, Click came on and played that position after Phillips went off, but Click is most influential when he's playing higher up the pitch. When you've got a player of that quality who can pass the ball in the final third with accuracy, makes the space, sees the game quickly, creates the assists, gets the goals. He needs to be playing further up. He can't be playing in the holding midfield position. Potentially, I'd make the argument that my man of the match tonight, Jamie Shackleton, should be playing that in the holding midfield position potentially, or playing in the central role. He's done really well whenever he's played in pre-season, when he's played this season in centre mid, right back, and he was my man of the match by an absolute distance tonight. So absolutely brilliant work for the first goal. And he was just, I thought, defensively solid. I thought Jefferson Montero, when he came on, I thought this is going to be trouble for us now. But I thought he'd coped with him really well. I thought he coped pretty well with Barry McKay for most of the game. And he's been a threat going forward too. He's got to be man of the match by some distance for me tonight. And I think he's definitely played himself into contention. I think that's definitely played himself into contention as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, there's definitely a need for a holding midfielder, I think, in the loan window. Potentially a centre-back as well, depending on how long Dean Cooper's out for. Because, I'm a big fan of Conor Shaughnessy, I have to say. I was a little bit disappointed Conor Shaughnessy didn't play, because I think we made 2 changes in the back when maybe we could have just made one. Obviously Luke Ayling went to centre-back, Shackleton moved over to right-back, and I think maybe that disrupted our rhythm a little bit. We looked a little bit all over the place, in all honesty, at the back for most of the night. You know, I think Barry Douglas, Luke Ayling, Berardi, it was a tough night for them. As much as I was praising Berardi over the weekend, I think he struggled a little bit more alongside a fellow full-back at centre-back. You know, I think maybe for Conor Shaughnessy had been there a little bit more dominant in the air and just more used to the position. You know, obviously Luke Aylin's a top player and can cover, but you can't have two full-backs at centre-back at once. One and a centre-back at the absolute most, or two centre-backs preferably. You can't play two sorts of full-backs at centre-back at once. For me, anyway, that's my personal opinion. But, you know, we've got a good point at the end of the day, and we have to be positive about it. But and another maybe point you can make is the fatigue. You know, I think we did show signs of fatigue as well, where we couldn't quite press with the same energy or aggression or the same regularity either. You know, whenever I think there was plenty of opportunities to press Swansea as they were playing it out the back, but we couldn't quite take every single opportunity because it's natural that we're going to get fatigued. But I think it shows we're going to have to use the squad a little bit more. You know, players like Lewis Baker, who was fresh when he came on, Patrick Bamford, who was fresh when he came on. I think they're probably going to see them starting games more over the next couple of weeks. But all in all, you know, a poor performance on the night, but great character showing. Top of the table, you know what I mean? You can't complain too much. All in all, got to be happy with it. 2-2. Make sure you let us know your comments on the game down below.